Our second reader writes stories for your enjoyment and her desperate need for attention. By day, she works in public relations as a corporate communications manager, which means her guess is as good as yours. Mary has performed at Story Club, Essay Fiesta, Write Club, and Guts and Glory, among others. You can find her later this month competing in Snub Fest at Zanies and as a featured performer at That's All She Wrote. If you like her story, it would be your honor to buy her a drink after the show. Please give a warm welcome to Mary Lorenz.
That's good. Yeah, thank you. This, I guess, is also a work in progress in the sense that it's my life. It's 3 a.m. on a Thursday, and I'm wide awake, watching an old episode of The Nanny on TV Land. As you do when you're trying to decide if you should go to the emergency room or not. I can't tell if the pain in my stomach is just gas or something worse. All I know is I went to bed 4 hours ago feeling fine, but woke up feeling as if the gelatinous blob from the thing has taken up residence in my stomach. I was hoping a few generous doses of Gas X would settle my stomach and some mindless TV would lull me back to sleep. However, this thing only seems to be getting stronger by the minute, as if Fran Drescher's voice is the source of its power. Another dose of Gas X, and 2 "Oh, Mr. Sheffield's" later, I finally decided it's time to go to the hospital. A quick Google search for the closest emergency room turns up a listing of Yelp reviews for local ERs. Until now, it's never occurred to me that an ER was something a person would review on Yelp, much less go online to search for. I always thought people just went to the one that was cheapest and easiest to get into, like college. I feel weirdly self-conscious walking into the doors of Illinois Masonics ER, as if I should have a note from my parents or something. Considering the last time I was here, I was 9 and had to be bribed with the promise of a McDonald's ice cream cone after. Taking myself to the ER now and checking myself in of my own volition feels like a very mature, very grown-up move. Like Britney Spears checking into Promises Rehab Center. On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is the pain? The receptionist asks me. The question throws me off. Does she mean 1 to 10 based on already needing to go to the emergency room? Because why else would someone drag their ass to the ER at 4 a.m. in 20-degree weather? Are people just coming in for the prison-like ambiance and to catch up on old issues of Ladies' Home Journal? I decide to go with 7, which to me says, I'm definitely in pain, but I don't want to brag about it. I guess that's the right answer, because the next thing I know, I'm being given a wristband and led to an examination room. Walk me through what you ate today, the nurse asks me after I tell her about my stomach pain. Okay, well, I had brunch with some girlfriends, I start off. I want to put this story in context, so it's clear that I was not only eating brunch, a meal that demands overconsumption, but I was also eating with a bunch of girls. And girls love to eat, even more so when we're in a group, because there's something in our brains that tells us if we all consume the same amount of calories, they'll cancel each other out. This is girl logic. It doesn't make sense, but it's real, and it's something only women understand, like women's intuition, or Jeff Goldblum's sex appeal. So when I recount for my female nurse the various simple carbs and caffeinated beverages I consumed that morning, I expect nothing but understanding and maybe a high five. Instead, she looks at me, eyes wide, and says, "Wow, you're an eater." Which is not the non-judgmental reaction I've come to expect from my medical professionals. It also makes me hesitant to reveal that I also had some popcorn that night, along with a glass of wine. Although I feel like the wine should be implied. I mean, how do you eat popcorn without wine? That's like eating Oreo cookies without wine. The doctor then asks if I'm pregnant, as she's supposed to do, and looks in no way surprised when I say no. After all, who wants to have sex with an eater? Then she nods her head thoughtfully as she considers all the information, and finally she gives me a diagnosis: heartburn. I can't have heartburn, I say. That's for old people. I can't believe it. Everyone fears turning 30 because that's supposedly the age your metabolism goes to shit and you no longer qualify to be on The Bachelor. But nobody ever says anything about heartburn. Apparently, however, the mass amounts of sugar, coffee, and wine I consumed earlier in the day have turned me into one of the golden girls. And not one of the sexier ones, I'm afraid. It's around 6 a.m. when I finally leave the ER, ready to forget this whole incident ever happened, like it was a bad dream or a trip to Navy Pier. My stomach, however, has other ideas. This night turns out to be just the first of several consecutive nights when I go to sleep feeling fine and wake up as if I'm about to give birth to Rosemary's Baby. It's as if my stomach has suddenly decided it's mad as hell about the years of abuse and not going to take it anymore. Nights bleed into days, and soon it feels like everything I eat leaves me feeling uncomfortably full, as if I've just eaten Thanksgiving dinner at Paula Dean's house. As a result, I drop 5 pounds without even trying, making me the envy of my 15-year-old self. Even worse, the pain seems to have migrated from my stomach to my chest. I try to limit my diet even further, cutting out heartburn-inducing foods like chocolate, coffee, wine, aka my 3 basic food groups. My new lifestyle puts a kink in my social life, too. It's just not worth trying to explain to people why I'm not drinking when I'm out at a party or a bar, that I'm not in AA, I'm just trapped in the body of an 80-year-old. And going out to eat is no fun either. Not only do I have to order everything special, sauce on the side, no cheese, no onions, etc., I have to deal with the side-eye from the waiters. I'm sure they think I'm just doing this because I read in Us Weekly it's how J-Lo got her post-baby body back. I don't blame them either. I'm sure I'm no fun to be around, despite all the fun trivia and anecdotes I've picked up about heartburn and its triggers. I finally see a gastroenterologist who prescribes me medicine that helps to alleviate my stomach pain, but doesn't do much for my heartburn. We'll get to the bottom of this, he says. I don't want you to have to give up red wine. And with that, I know I've made the right choice in doctors. And damn it if we don't try everything. Over the next several months, I test out several different medications and undergo a variety of procedures to check for things like food allergies, stomach lesions, and tumors. But nothing comes up inconclusive. And I don't want to be ungrateful. After all, it's generally considered a good day when you find out you don't have a tumor. But how much more poking, prodding, x-raying, scoping, barium swallowing do I have to do before the doctor finally finds something he can treat? Maybe this is all part of a long con, I think at one point. Maybe he's purposely not finding anything, so he has an excuse to keep seeing me, while he builds up the nerve to ask me out. The way it happens in Katherine Heigl movies. I know it's not likely, but it's a way to distract myself from the frustration of not being able to figure out what's wrong, and the loneliness of not having anyone around who really understands. In the midst of all this, I do get a diagnosis of a different source. A leaky heart valve. The technical term is bicuspid aortic valve, and it's basically a heart defect that causes some of the blood pumping into your heart to leak out on its way into the aorta, thus the sexy-sounding nickname, leaky valve. I discovered it after a particularly severe case of heartburn one day had me convinced I was having a heart attack, as most rational-thinking 30-year-olds do, and checking into the ER for the second time in 6 months, because apparently going to the ER is my thing now. Of course, it was just a case of heartburn, spoiler alert, but my EKG revealed an abnormality in my heart, and a follow-up echocardiogram revealed this, a condition that sounds like an STD. As in, not tonight, honey, my valve is really leaky tonight. I feel like Sally Fields should be on a late-night commercial for medication somewhere saying, I have leaky valve, but it doesn't have me. As she smiles into the camera and sails away in a kayak. It's nothing I can't live a normal life with, I'm told. Of course, it does mean more tests and a cardiologist to add to my growing list of regular doctors. It also means I may need a heart valve transplant one day, and I doubt there's even a Groupon for that. Additionally, not only am I at square one as to finding out what's causing my heartburn, but now that I know I have this heart condition, I'm always left to wonder if what I'm feeling is heartburn or something more, something to do with my heart. The irony is, had it not been for the heartburn forcing me to go back to the ER, I never would have found out about my heart condition. It would almost be funny if it was something that was funny. When I relayed the information about my newfound heart condition to my GI, he suggests something neither of us had thought of before. Well, it's possible the heartburn is related to stress, he says. It makes sense, I realize. After all, finding out your body's most vital organ is fucking leaking is somewhat stressful. With that, I add yet another medical professional to my growing list. Therapist. And here's where I reach a turning point. Perhaps having a therapist to talk through all of this with was what I needed all along. Or maybe I've just finally adapted to my version of feeling normal. Whatever the reason, what was once an ever-present ache in my chest becomes less frequent, less severe, and I decide I'm feeling better enough to break up with my GI. I need a break from the tests and the medications, and I've pretty much memorized all those issues of Ladies' Home Journal. I start socializing again. I become a little more lax with my diet. I definitely start drinking red wine again. After all, it's good for the heart. And as it turns out, the more red wine I drink, the less of a fuck I give about my heartburn. The staff at Binny's has been very supportive of this decision. The heartburn still hasn't gone completely away, and I still get paranoid on occasion that it's something more severe. But it's something I'm learning to deal with, the way America has learned to deal with Justin Bieber. I might have heartburn, or leaky valve, or something else entirely as well. But it doesn't have me. Thank you guys.